Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Vet Chats, where we help veterans share their awesome stories and make the veteran community a better place. A quick reminder, if you are a female veteran who has ever served in California or is currently serving, or if you have lived in California and you're now living elsewhere, please take the California Female Veterans Survey. The California VA is putting this survey out to hear the voices of women veterans to help improve their facilities for female veterans. The link is in my bio. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. All right, so today I'm excited to talk about something that's kind of been on my mind. We're going to be talking about how the military makes you grow up fast, and it also kind of stunts your growth in some ways. So I have a few points that we're going to go through. It's something that we hear a lot, that the military, you have to grow up fast. You really do, and it's true in so many ways. But it wasn't until I got out that I realized that I had so much more growing up to do. So this episode, I want to chat about the ways the military forms you as an independent adult, and also about the ways it stunts your growth as a person. Now, not every point is going to apply to everyone, but I think you'll be able to relate to a few, and maybe you'll even think of a few more if you can. Definitely if you joined at 18, 19, this episode will definitely resonate with you a little more. So a pretty obvious one that comes to mind is discipline. You learn how to put your personal feelings and emotions aside and do what you need to do. You end up leaning on such discipline to get you through tough days of early mornings or late nights on post or watch. This discipline isn't something you are putting on yourself, but you are heavily incentivized because the consequences are just not worth it. Some of us were able to apply this discipline in a personal way and use it in other parts of our lives, while others, that skill just didn't translate. I fell into the latter category where I could practice discipline when it came to the needs of the military, such as being work on time, finishing tasks, getting things done. However, I couldn't apply it to myself, such as saying no to going out all night or taking college classes. It wasn't until I got out that I had to find that discipline for myself and realize that I need to do things for myself and not because there's a consequence if I don't. So in sum, we learn discipline in the military, but we learn discipline through consequences instead of just practicing good habits because we know they're what's best and what will actually make our life easier in the long run. And what goes hand in hand with discipline? Responsibility. So we all needed to be responsible for ourselves and for our actions. Again, if not, we were held to strict rules and consequences if we didn't. You were responsible for all of your gear, being in the right place, in the right time, and so on. You literally are also responsible if something were to happen to you, as we sign our own wills in boot camp. But yet there is this whole other side of it, as we aren't responsible enough to drive further than, 200 miles without approval. It's like you're responsible for things, but you aren't treated as someone who can handle responsibility. And trust me, I understand why there are those rules, but you can't help but wonder if we would change the culture from cracking down on rules to empowering our younger military to care for themselves, would there be a different story? So my point is that you grow up in the military because you're given a lot of responsibility, but you kind of lack that when you get out because you still don't feel like you're someone who can be treated as someone who's responsible, if that makes sense. The military definitely helps you adapt and be resilient. You are thrown into a completely new environment with people from all corners of the U.S., and you learn how to live and work with one another. The military also helps you be great at living in new areas with different climates. So why are we so bad at adapting to civilian life? The military really helps you adapt to the military, and that's kind of where it ends. So we need to remind ourselves that we already have the skills of adapting and resiliency. We just don't feel comfortable using them outside of the military bubble yet. It takes time. We need to realize that we are leaving an entire culture and need to adapt as such. And we know we can do it because we have proven resiliency over and over again throughout the military, and we can definitely do it on the outside. So on top of having you work with all sorts of people, the military also helps you learn about so many different cultures and different places that you probably wouldn't have been exposed to if you didn't leave your hometown. But a lot of times by traveling to different places and meeting people in the military, you're still doing it through a military lens. So you see the world in the view of what the military's mission is. There are some cases that you are able to take off those lenses while you're in and you see things for what they are, but oftentimes this doesn't happen until we get out, right? My point is that when you are in, you are limited by how you see the world because of your service. This is also kind of by design, as we aren't really able to express our political views while we're in uniform, and we're mostly discouraged from things such as activism and other initiatives that may broaden your perspectives and also may bring you around people with a totally different mindset. Again, it's just that lack of exposure while we're in the military. And this definitely varies from person to person. I know there's some people that had very different experiences, but I'm kind of thinking that this might be relatable for the majority of people. So you can feel like a real adult in the military because you are learning new skills and you work a real job, right? You learn a lot of new things in the military. There are a lot of opportunities for continued education and training. But in the grand scheme of things, the military is set up for more technical skills. Jobs in the military, they just don't cover all the jobs available in the civilian sector. So this limits us to a selection of careers. For example, there are not a lot of jobs relating to the arts, especially if you're enlisted. Your job exposure is going to be limited. So this doesn't mean that there aren't great career options amongst our ranks, but if you were exposed and more aware of jobs in the outside world, you might find something that's a better fit for you. It's also hard to picture a career outside the military when you're only around other people that work in the military. Another reason is most of us got our first big paycheck when we were joining the military, and we felt pretty grown up because of it. It was that financial freedom, and it felt good to be able to finally support ourselves. And now some of us were pretty careless with that money, and it didn't always sink in because we knew we would always get that paycheck on the 1st and the 15th. You would just go a few days struggling until the next check hit. There are also a lot of backup plans in the military. There's the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, where you could get an interest-free loan, and overdrafting was kind of always an option with Navy Federal. But now on the outside, you really need to get it together because there aren't that many backups. You can't get interest-free loans now. Money has to be a priority, and you literally can't afford to be careless. So this was one way that I really had to grow up and be smart with money on the outside. So another thing that keeps you kind of stunted in your growth in the military is people around you. So many people join right outside of high school, so you're going to go from having that automatic people around you, like built-in family, friends, neighbors. You're not really choosing those people that are around you. But when you get in the military, you have more of a choice, and you kind of decide what friends, what kind of people you want to hang out with, but that still is limited by the people who you are working with. But it is a big choice to make, and more depends on it than you think. I know I was just looking for people who were out to have the most fun, or people who would want to go out on the weekends or every single night in my case. And guess what? Those people were super easy to find in the military, and I kept myself surrounded by those people that were living for the weekend or the late nights. And of course, that's pretty typical for people under 25 in general. But the people around you will limit your belief of your own success. It is hard to surround yourself with the right people in the military. 1, because when you find them, they're probably going to move. And 2, you're just very limited by rank because fraternization issues, and it's just hard to make friends outside of work. I didn't have many, if maybe 1 or 2 civilian friends on the outside. So having a solid group of people can happen in the military, but it is kind of rare. And that is why your circle can really limit your growth in the military. And when you get out, you got to get out of that mindset. Like, you have to be very choosy with your friends and decide who you want to surround yourself. So all in all, the military helps you become an adult in many ways, but you also still have your hand held for many things. It is hard to see that safety net around you when you are in. So when you get out, you don't realize how much security you actually had when you were in. And this was a huge wake-up call for myself because I knew I needed to grow up, but I just didn't know in what parts. And I needed to be more responsible for my choices and also who was around me. I couldn't be as carefree anymore because there was no safety net to fall back on. So maybe you feel this way too, and I hope this episode helped you think a lot of that through. As always, I love to hear your thoughts, and I really appreciate you listening, and we will chat soon. I hope you have a great rest of the week.